Hi there, Derek here from Pacific Coast Auto, and welcome to another vlog update. So this one here is a special video that I'm taking because a customer of mine first noticed the vlog last week, and he said, I've got some questions for you about gasoline in Japan. And so gasoline in different countries is different from around the world, and so what is it like in Japan? Wow, really weird car. I don't know if you can see that. It's like a Grand National that's on like 28-inch wheels. Weird. Okay, so I got the questions on my voice recorder here because I'm driving and I can't read them, and we're just going to answer these questions rapid fire style. And so here we go.
What octane is available in Japan?
Okay, Japanese octane is a difficult question because the rating scale in Japan is different from different countries. There are basically two different ratings for octane in gas. There's the RON octane rating and the MON octane rating. And then some countries, like USA and Canada, they do a mix between the RON and the MON to get your final number. And so in Japan, they rate this at 100 octane, but the 100 octane in Japan is probably closer to around 97 octane in Canada, where this customer's from. It's the octane in Japan is of higher grade than the octane that you can get as the highest grade at the pump in Canada. And so for some people this is a bit of a concern, but I've been exporting cars to Canada for a long time, and the customers in Canada have not been having problems with the detonation of their car. So what is octane and why do you want it in your car or in the fuel? I think a lot of people don't really understand what the higher grades of fuel are for. They think the higher grades might be cleaner fuel, and this is the way that the gasoline companies have kind of marketed it. Because, you know, it's to the gasoline company's benefit to sell the higher grade fuel because it's got more markup. They put some additives in there and then they make more profit on it. And so if your car requires 87 octane, don't put in a higher grade octane. You're doing nothing for it. The reason why you want octane in your gas is because the octane additive in the fuel delays the combustion in the cylinder. So if your octane is too low, then the piston squishes your fuel too much, but then it's going to explode before the spark plug goes off, and this is deadly bad for your engine. And this is engine knock or ping. You know, it's got different terms depending on who you ask. And so yeah, you don't want this to happen, and this happens in turbocharged cars or naturally aspirated cars that are tuned for higher grade octane. And that's why if you've got a turbo car, you really need to get the proper octane in it. Now, modern engines, i.e. anything that's been made since like the early 90s, has been computer controlled with knock sensors, so that if there is knock going on, then your computer is going to retard your timing, and that's going to keep everything safe inside your cylinders. So even though the fuel in Canada and the USA might be of slightly lower grade, it doesn't matter because your computer should compensate for that anyway. Now, we'll go to the next question.
How much does premium gasoline cost in Japan?
Premium is 139 yen. So in US dollars, that would be about, 139 per liter. A liter is 3.8 gallons. And so 139 yen times 3.8 converted into American dollars. If you want to do that, you can post that in the comments. I'm not going to do that in my head. I'm not that smart.
Does the price of gas always fluctuate like it does in Canada?
Yep, it does. The gas goes up and down, and that's because all the gas comes from basically the same market, and the market values dictate how the gasoline goes up and down. And so you'll get that in every country except for maybe countries that, like, there are some countries that pay for a certain portion of the gas for the people so that this doesn't happen, but for most countries that's not the case.
What grade of fuel do you put in your twin-turbo Subaru?
Okay, that was the actual question. It wasn't me trying to think my car is cool, because let's face it, it's not a very cool car. But it does have 2 turbochargers, and pretty much every single turbocharged car on the planet requires premium fuel. this is not always the case, but turbochargers squish the air, which allows you to put more air and more fuel into your engine, which means higher combustion ratios, and so higher octanes required for that. There are some cars that are like they need medium grade or low grade fuel for a turbocharged car, but it's pretty few and far between, to be honest.
What is the lowest grade of gasoline in Japan?
For gasoline, there's only two grades. There's regular and premium. There's no middle grade. The middle grade, I think, is a bit of a cop-out used by gasoline companies to make money. Just regular and high octane. And all the fun cars require high octane.
Where does all the fuel come from in Japan?
I don't know. I don't know where all the fuel comes from in other countries. The question, they said, the person who asked it, my customer, said that the fuel in Canada and the US comes from domestic sources, but that's not completely the case. The way that economics works is that even oil-producing countries, even if they produce enough oil for their country, they still need to export some of that oil and import some of that oil because it makes economic sense to do that. And so Canada gets a lot of oil, but still a lot of oil comes in from external markets, a lot in the Middle East. Same with USA. And then Japan, in Japan, there's no oil production that I'm aware of because it's just not a big industry in this country. There might be some, but I don't know. And so I believe that's the last question on the cast. No, yeah, that's the end. Last question sent from my customer. So thank you, Randy, for sending those questions in. If other people have questions, feel free to email them to me as well on my company email address, my website, www.pacificcoastjdm.com. My email, info@pacificcoastjdm.com. I might get to the questions. It depends. I'm pretty busy and don't always have time for this, but this customer is a good customer of mine. I thought they were interesting questions. So if you've got questions and you think they're interesting too, then please email them to me. Or you can ask them on Sundays, because Sunday we have the Sunday Question Cast, where I take a number of questions, 5 or 6 questions from the comments, and respond to them, questions about anything. So thanks for watching. Have a good one.